The Texas offense looks playoff worthy. The defense, on the other hand, panic worthy. Can it be fixed by Friday? Let's talk about it on Locked On Longhorns. Intro.
You are Locked On Longhorns, your daily podcast on the Texas Longhorns. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in. You were locked on to the Texas Longhorns, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. I'm your host, BK, Brad Kellner, Texas grad, Austin local, and longtime sports radio host here in the Lone Star State. Thank you, everydayers, for making Locked On Longhorns a part of your day every single day. Today's episode is brought to you by GameTime. Download the GameTime app, create an account, and use promo code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. A weird Steve Sarkisian trend that I want to get to. Plus, we'll hand out some game balls from the big win over Arkansas. But first, a guy walks into a bar and says to the bartender, "Hey, bartender, I know a great Aggie joke. You want to hear it?" The bartender says, "Well, before you tell it, I should probably tell you that I went to A&M. And you see those two big guys sitting next to you? They were linebackers for the A&M football team. And those two guys on the other side, they're Marines. And they used to be in the Corps at Texas A&M. Now, are you sure you want to tell that Aggie joke?" The guy thinks for a second. "I guess not," he said. "I wouldn't want to have to explain it 5 times. Oh, yeah, it's Aggie Hate Week. And we'll be dropping more than a few Aggie jokes on this show between now and Friday, and hopefully doing it long after Friday as well. If you have some good ones, I know you'll have some good ones, send them in the comments below. All right, enough of that for now. Let's unpack some of the not so good from the Horns' good win over Arkansas. Saturday was rough for the Texas defense. There's no way around it. 37 points allowed, 510 yards of total offense allowed. Arkansas went 7 of 11. No, we're not talking about Slurpees here. They scored on 7 of their 11 offensive possessions on Saturday. Way too many. They ran it for over 100 yards in the first quarter and 188 for the game, more than twice the amount that Texas had been allowing in games this season. Heck, the first play of the game, a 41-yard run straight up the middle. The Hogs had scoring drives of 42, 60, 75, 75, 60, 75, and 92 yards on Saturday. And yeah, the Texas offense didn't have any turnovers. So it's not like the Hogs were just taking advantage of a bunch of short fields. They had 29 first downs in the game. They kind of fed Texas a laxative and slid through with no resistance. That was gross. Sorry about that. I wish I would have come up with something better than that. The stats tell the story. The eye test tells the story. And the fact that it's now 4 games in a row where we've seen these problems show up for the Longhorn defense, that also tells a story. In the last 4 games, Mississippi State, Vanderbilt, Georgia, and Arkansas, 3 of them are wins, but Texas has given up 141 points in those games. That's 35 and a quarter points per game. In the first 7 games of the season, which included 2 Texas losses, by the way, the Longhorns gave up 79 points total, 11 points per game. And even if you take out the 3 cupcake non-conference games, it was still only 15.5 points per game that Texas was giving up. Again, in the last month, more than 35 allowed. In terms of yardage, the last 4 games, Texas has given up 434 yards per game on average. The point total, that 35.25 number, that would be ranked 122nd in the country if you're comparing it to scoring defenses around college football for the season. And then the yardage number, that 434, that would be good for 119th. That would be bad for 119th in the country. It's not good. And I'm panicking about the Texas defense right now. If you're not panicking at least a little bit, I would love to know why, because I can't find too many reasons to feel confident with the way that side of the ball has been playing. I know there was a good stretch on Saturday where Texas strung together a few stops. I know 2 of Arkansas's touchdowns were in garbage time when the game was already in hand. And I know Anthony Hill didn't play, and Steve Sarkisian told us in his post-game press conference that Hill should be back against A&M. But that 2-9 football team still had way too much success against you. And by the way, Anthony Hill played in those other 3 games against Mississippi State, Vanderbilt, and Georgia, still some struggles. And honestly, I think the reason Arkansas didn't score was because of Arkansas. Like, I couldn't believe they settled for a field goal on 4th down and 2 from the Texas 15-yard line on the second drive of the game. They had already clearly shown that they could move the ball pretty easily against this defense, considering it was a 2-8 football team, now 2-9. What the hell did they have to lose? I couldn't believe that they settled for 3 there. And then the Taylon Green interception, I mean, what was he doing? It was a 24-20 game at halftime. Texas scored on the opening drive of the third quarter to go up by 11. Kind of felt like it was Arkansas's turn to score again and close the gap. But then that play by Taylon Green, obviously credit Texas. Jelani McDonald has the interception. The Longhorns score a few plays later to go up 38-20. But that was just insane dumbness by Taylon Green, if that's even a word. I mean, the nation would want Arch Manning's head on a stake if he made that type of mistake. And then also, speaking of Taylon Green, him not playing the majority of the second half helped Texas too, even though the freshman, KJ Jackson, went for more than 200 yards and had a rushing touchdown on a play where he broke 4 tackles before waltzing into the burnt orange paint. It was that helped that Texas didn't see the starter for, again, about half of the football game. Another mind-boggling stat to get to, the 2 Arkansas quarterbacks combined to go 22 of 31 for 305 yards between the numbers. When they were forced to throw outside the numbers, they were 4 of 16 for 24 yards. The mind-boggling part isn't that, the stats are better inside the numbers. Those are easier throws for any quarterback to make. The mind-boggling stat is the fact that Texas allowed so many of those easy throws right over the middle of the field. Arkansas doesn't have pro-level quarterbacks on their team. You want to force those guys to throw outside the numbers towards the sidelines, and Texas just wasn't doing that. They didn't really make any adjustments in game to combat all of the success that the Hogs were having over the middle of the field. You look at the edge rushers. Every Texas edge defender got fooled by at least one zone read. Green and Jackson had way too much success. And Marcel Reed and Texas A&M, they saw that in the game plan. Hell, that's what they do anyways on offense. They are going to try a few of those here in Austin on Friday. A lot of issues. And what has been a very confusing and hard to predict season of Texas Longhorn football, one of the most confusing and hard to predict things has been the dramatic fall off of this Texas defense. And it's hard not to be frustrated as a fan because early on, the defense was so good. It looked like they had picked up right where they left off, despite some key departures from 2024. They were off to a tremendous start. And all we were saying was, oh man, if the offense can just figure it out, this team could be really good. Well, now the offense has kind of figured it out. They're not perfect, but they're clearly better now than what they were in the first month of the year. And now the defense has gone off the rails. Coverage busts, blown assignments, missed tackles, bad penalties. I mean, you name it. Texas has done it in the last month. And we talked about it during the postgame show on Saturday night. I didn't love the game plan from Pete Kwiatkowski. I thought it was way too soft. Not enough pressure on Taylon Green and KJ Jackson. And again, way too much soft coverage for my liking. It's a trend and a bad one for Texas on defense. They've sprung more than a few leaks. I just hope there's enough Flex Seal at Moncrief to keep this boat from completely drowning. It's been bad. And this Texas A&M offense coming to town on Friday, no joke here. It has been elite this season. They are number 2 in the country in the S&P Plus efficiency metric. Marcel Reed putting up great numbers. They run the ball at a high level. Mario Craver, Casey Concepcion, they've got some incredible weapons on the outside. Even if the Texas defense was playing well, it would be a tough matchup going up against the Aggie offense. But with all of the problems, the repeated problems that we're seeing from the Longhorn defense, has me a little nervous about Friday. And look, A&M, yes, they have taken advantage of a very manageable SEC schedule. That helps inflate their offensive numbers, and that helps inflate the eye test for what they've looked like on offense. But the Texas defense right now looks very manageable too. For the record, I am picking Texas to beat A&M, but the recent defensive issues for the Longhorns have me nervous. Michael Taft had a rough game on Saturday. Even Manny Muhammad was missing a couple of reads in coverage. You saw a lot of missed tackles. Again, blown assignments, missed coverages. And I know Arkansas has a good offense, but it should not have been that easy for them, especially at the start of the game. They gave up points on Arkansas's first 4 drives of the football game on Saturday. You do that against A&M. I know we loved what we saw from March Manning in the Longhorn offense, but the Aggie defense is a lot better than Arkansas's. I don't know if Texas is going to be able to score as often as they did early on this Friday. You cannot just be that bad out of the gate, just that bad in so many different areas on defense. So, short week on Pete Kwiatkowski and the rest of this defensive staff to figure some things out. And again, it's not just one game. It's now 4 games in a row where we are seeing repeated problems for the Longhorn D. All right, what's your confidence level in this game on Friday? What's your confidence level in the Texas defense? Would love to hear from y'all. And again, keep those Aggie jokes coming in. All right. Steve Sarkisian has major trust issues, and I think they're holding this team back. I'll tell you what I mean in a moment. That's next on Locked On Longhorns. But first, the holiday season is right around the corner. Hey, Thanksgiving just a couple of days away. That means it's time to get your home ready. Whether you need more seating for guests, if you need new linens, if you need fun serveware for your holiday hosting, Wayfair's Black Friday sale is here to help you make your space shine. And the best part, you don't have to wait until Friday. Wayfair's Black Friday deals are happening all month long with up to 70% off of everything from sofas to spatulas and all of the things in between. They are the best. My mom loves Wayfair. She's going to be hosting this week. Excited to not have to host at my place. She's been all over Wayfair, taking advantage of the Black Friday deals all month long. And if you've ever hosted family for the holidays, you know how much difference just a few minor touches can make. Wayfair makes it super easy. So don't miss out on their early Black Friday deals. Head to wayfair.com to shop Wayfair's Black Friday sale for up to 70% off. It's WAYFAIR.com. Sale ends December 7th. And also a shout out to Doer jeans. Oh man, I absolutely love my Doer jeans. I wore them to the Texas-Arkansas game the other night. So comfortable, yet they look great. It really is the best of both worlds. You get that classic jeans wear style. Everyone's been wearing jeans for a long time for a reason. They look great and they never go out of style. But the problem with other jeans, they're just not comfortable. As soon as you get home, you want to change into something else because they're just painful all day. You don't have that with Doer jeans. It's the best of both worlds. The style of jeans, but the comfort and performance that you get from athletic wear. They are designed to look great and stay comfortable all day, no matter what you are doing. That's what Doer is all about. They are the pioneers of blending technical innovation with everyday clothing, and they invented the original performance denim that's 5 times stretchier than traditional denim. The most comfortable pants in the world, and you don't have to sacrifice style. Trust me, once you try these, you're not going to go back to anything else. ShopDoer.com/LockedOnLonghorns for 15% off your first order. How about that? ShopDuer.com/LockedOnLonghorns for 15% off. One more time, ShopDoer.com/LockedOnLonghorns. All right, welcome back to Locked On Longhorns, your team every day. Steve Sarkisian has trust issues. It's an opinion that I feel so strongly about that I almost take it as a fact at this point. And Saturday's game against Arkansas is just another cut and dry example of that. Steve Sarkisian runs the Texas offense. Pete Kwiatkowski runs the Texas defense. We all know this. The Longhorn defense constantly subs players in and out throughout games. Every game. We saw that a ton against Arkansas, but we've seen that really throughout the entirety of PK's tenure in Austin. And just looking at Saturday, Jonah Williams, the freshman, was in the game in the first quarter. Justice Terry, the true freshman, was in the game in the first quarter. Now, Grayson Littleton, true freshman, he's been playing every week for Texas this year. Freshman Cade Phillips played a ton at cornerback. Kobe Black was out there early on. Wardell Mack was out there early on. Lance Jackson, another true freshman, logged more than 20 snaps. Zina Umeozulu played a bunch as well. Like, all of these guys got a ton of action on Saturday. And I went and looked up the snap counts against the Hogs. 30 different Texas defenders played more than 10 snaps. That's a lot. Only 16 different offensive players played more than 10 snaps. That is a pretty noticeable difference right there. Almost half. The Horns had their first team offense on the field until there were less than 5 minutes to go in the game, even though the game was well in hand at that point. Arch Manning didn't come out until, again, there was like 4.5 minutes on the clock. And by that point, the defense was already playing like third and fourth stringers. So the easy response to what I'm talking about, if you're just looking at Saturday, it's, well, BK, the offense was clicking. Why are you complaining about more guys not playing? Well, they put up 52 points. My twofold response to your response would be, number one, this is something we've seen all season, even when the offense hasn't played as well as they played on Saturday. And number two, I guess I'll pose a question, like, could certain elements of this Texas offense have looked even better with different personnel? Like, not just Saturday against Arkansas, but in other games too. Like, would the run game look better if James Simon was getting more touches? Would there be less drops at wide receiver if Dalen McCutcheon, Khalil Lockett, Jamie French, and Michael Terry were out there? Could Nick Townsend be a better option at tight end than guys like Jordan Washington and Spencer Shannon, who have played significantly more this year? I don't know the answer to that. None of us do, because we don't ever see those guys play. I do know this offense has been very up and down at times this year. And the run game, especially, the run game's been very down all year long. And to me, like, it's clear that CJ Baxter is not giving you a whole lot. He's not the answer right now. He's just giving you nothing, unfortunately. So I wonder, like, how bad is James Simon? And I'll even throw Christian Clark in there too. How bad are those guys in practice to where they can't even see the field? And the drops have been an issue for some guys all season long. And yet it feels like it's the same 12, 13, 14 guys in the offensive rotation every single Saturday. Steve Sarkisian has used the word trust a ton in press conferences in his now nearly 5 full years in Austin. It's something that clearly matters to him, and Sark isn't alone. He's not the only coach in America that feels the need to trust their guys before allowing them to play in meaningful games. But like, Pete Kwiatkowski is a great defensive coach too, and I know he has to feel a certain level of trust for guys to get in on his defense, and it just feels like there's a heck of a lot less that a player has to do to earn trust on PK's side of the football than on Steve Sarkisian's. Like, a lot of the guys that I mentioned earlier, Cade Phillips, he wasn't playing early in the year. Justice Terry wasn't playing earlier in the year. Jonah Williams, they were hardly playing at all early on, but they've earned the trust of their coaches throughout the course of the season, and they're developing, and now they're getting their opportunities. That's just not happening on offense. Are guys not getting developed? Like, what's I don't get it. And Sark has also talked about practice reps meaning a lot. So I wonder if the young guys look that bad in practice. Again, if this offense was always as good as they were on Saturday, I wouldn't be asking this question. But this has been far from the best offense in America this year. It's not like it'd be silly to try anything different. I can't quite figure it out. And we're 11 games into a 12-game season, so I don't think anything's going to change. And I'll add this too. Maybe I'm reaching here. Y'all might think I'm reaching on this entire segment here. Maybe this isn't a great time to do it when Texas just put up, I guess, 45 offensive points if you take away the Leonga Lafau scoop and score in the second half. But if I'm a rival coach, I am using this against Texas as much as I can on the recruiting trail. Like, hell, all the Sark to the NFL rumors, you don't need a ton of extra ammunition at this point. But if I'm recruiting a wide receiver who's like between my school and Texas, I'm saying, you just want to sit on the bench your entire freshman year like Khalil Lockett and Dalen McCutcheon and Michael Terry and Jamie French are doing? Or do you want to play? Like, do you want to make an impact in your first year of college football? We know the majority of these kids want to play right away. They're not used to sitting. They're used to being the best players at their high school. They're used to getting the ball a ton every single time they strap it on. And they don't want to go from being the guy to a guy on the bench every Saturday. So I wonder if that's something teams are using to negatively recruit against Texas, especially on offense. On defense, you can't say that because young guys are playing a lot. On offense, it's not happening. And we've seen so many great freshmen around the country making a major impact for really good teams. Like, Oregon has 2 freshman running backs getting significant run. Ohio State, the number 1 team in America, their best running back is a true freshman. Malachi Toney, the receiver at Miami, has been great. Jacorian Moore going back to Oregon. These guys are getting their opportunities, and they're playing a lot, and they're making the most of them. I mean, look at Florida. They suck, but they beat Texas on the backs of a bunch of freshman wide receivers who dominated the game. Go back to last year, Jeremiah Smith, Ryan Williams, Cam Coleman, TJ Moore, all of these guys. I don't know. It's weird. Like, Texas is getting major contributions from freshmen on defense, yet they don't even try to get anything from the freshmen on offense. Why, you ask? To me, it's obvious. Steve Sarkisian has trust issues. He does not trust the young guys on his offense. And I don't think you expect to see an expanded rotation with number 3 A&M coming to town. The circle gets even tighter against good teams. So much on the line on Saturday. It ain't going to change this weekend, but it's just a weird observation throughout the course of this year. Texas brought in the number 1, should have said this earlier. Texas brought in the number 1 recruiting class in America, and a lot of those guys were on offense. We're not seeing them play. Defense, we are. And those guys are making great impacts. Offense, just not happening. Sark doesn't trust him. I don't get to see practice. Maybe they all suck. Maybe they were all overrated. I have a hard time thinking that's the case. What say you? Do you agree with me? Am I making a mountain out of a molehill? Would love to hear from y'all. All right, back to the positive stuff. Hey, a Longhorn win means we've got Locked On Longhorns game balls to hand out. Some great individual performances, especially on offense. We'll get to it next on Locked On Longhorns. Oh, man. The game, the Lone Star Showdown, one of the games of the year in college football. It's back in Austin for the first time since 2010. Yeah, it's going to be awesome. I'll be there at DKR. I cannot wait. And if you're looking for tickets, if you want to be there alongside me and 100,000 other Texans cheering on their team, GameTime is the place to go. You don't have to worry about long lines. You don't have to worry about hidden fees. You don't have to worry about prices jumping at checkout. No, the beauty of GameTime is that the fans have the advantage. GameTime is the easiest way to score last-minute tickets at the best prices with no surprise fees. What you see is what you pay every single time. And you get a view from your seat, too, before you purchase, so you know exactly what you're going to be looking at when you're inside the stadium. GameTime is faster, it's cheaper, and it's way less stressful than any other way that I bought tickets in the past. That's what I used for my A&M tickets. Hopefully, you are doing the same. Take the guesswork out of buying your college football tickets with GameTime. Download the GameTime app, create an account, and use the promo code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, the promo code Locked On College. You do that, you'll get $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download GameTime today. All right, welcome back to Locked On Longhorns, your team every day. Final segment on a Monday show. Happy early Thanksgiving to each and every one of you out there. Safe travels if you are traveling. Enjoy the time with loved ones. We'll be doing shows every day. No days off here on Locked On Longhorns. We got a big game coming up on Friday. But before we dive back into that big game on Friday, let's dive back into what happened a couple of days ago at DKR. Hand out some Locked On Longhorns game balls from the win. Love this segment because we only do it after victories, which we got to do on last Monday. But that's okay. I digress. We're staying positive here. The first game ball, is there any doubt, goes to Arch Manning. The straw that stirred the drink for the Texas Longhorns all night long. He was incredible. 18 of 30, 389 yards. He had 4 passing touchdowns, a rushing touchdown, and a receiving touchdown. I'm sure all of y'all have heard this by now, but he's the first Longhorn ever to have a passing touchdown, a rushing touchdown, and a receiving touchdown in the same game. How about 6 total scores for Arch Manning? Incredible stuff. The 389 passing yards, a career high for him. About 13 yards per attempt. The deep ball was working early and often. Could have had more yards there, too. A couple of drops by his receivers. Could have been an even better statistical performance from Arch Manning, as crazy as that sounds, considering how good he was. 0 turnovers, 0 turnover-worthy plays. He has been playing really, really well as of late. Mississippi State in the crazy comeback, the Vanderbilt game, now this. You know, people who didn't watch the Georgia game will call it a rough showing. He was solid, very gritty. He was by far the best offensive player for Texas. I'm not going to argue too much in favor of the Longhorn offense because they only scored 10, but I thought Arch did pretty well, all things considered. But again, the strides, we talked a lot about this in the postgame show Saturday night. The strides that he has taken throughout this 2025 season have been incredible. Maybe you shouldn't have closed the book on Arch Manning after like 1 month of his first year as a starting quarterback. Maybe you should have given him some time. Hopefully you did. And if you have been patient like Steve Sarkisian has, your patience has been rewarded. He's really put it together in the second half of the season. Number 2, Parker Livingstone. The Longhorns leading receiver with 104 yards, only a couple of catches. He made the most of them, had a touchdown catch, also had the passing touchdown to Arch Manning as well. About 1-for-1 in his career throwing the football. Tied for the highest completion percentage of all time. We're ignoring any minimum attempt number here. That was a great play. Nice design by Steve Sarkisian. Great execution as well. Shout out to Parker Livingstone. Number 3, DeAndre Moore. Almost a perfect game for Demo. Offensively, it was 3 catches, 3 touchdowns. Doesn't get any more efficient than that. The reason it wasn't a perfect game was special teams. He made one of the dumbest decisions on special teams that you'll ever see, like fielding a punt that was about to bounce into the end zone instead of, letting it bounce into the end zone. DeAndre Moore's played too much football in his life to do something like that. Decided to return it, only got to the 8-yard line. I don't know what he was thinking. He wasn't thinking there. I'm going to blame Jeff Banks, his special teams coach, just as much, if not more, than DeAndre Moore. No pun intended for that one. Why are you running DeAndre Moore back there at the last second? Like, has Ryan Niblett not been good enough at punt return? You don't trust him to be back there by himself? You have to have 2 returners back there? Like, what are we doing? What more does Ryan Niblett have to do? He's been so good there. Why are you running a second return man back there and letting that happen? Niblett did the right thing. He got out of the way. Should have been a touchback. DeAndre Moore, he's never on punt return. He's like, yeah, I'd like to do something here. I'm finally getting my chance. Again, dumb play by him, but dumb decision by special teams coach. Very weird. Number 4, Colin Simmons. He was the highest graded player for the Texas defense by far. Had a sack, 1.5 TFLs, 5 total tackles for the game. He gets held so much, y'all. He gets held so much, and it never gets called. I should mention that, the strip sack fumble, that was him. The Onga foul touchdown. Yeah, Colin Simmons set that up on a 4th down, blew right by the right tackle on Arkansas, made that play happen. Colin Simmons gets held so much. Like, they had the Jordan rules for Michael Jordan in basketball. Feels like refs in the SEC have the Simmons rule for Colin this year. The rules are basically don't throw penalties when anyone's blocking him, ever. Doesn't matter how much they grab or hold or tackle. Don't throw the flag there. His numbers, I guess, holding penalties, they don't give you sacks just because you're held, but holding penalties drawn, that's a number that people do keep. Colin Simmons should lead the country in that. They're just not calling it enough. I don't get it. And last but not least, I'm going to do a combination here. Freshman defensive backs getting a game ball. Grayson Littleton, the true freshman who's been a starter since day one, targeted 5 times, allowed just 1 catch on those 5 targets. That 1 catch went for 5 yards. That'll work. Cade Phillips logged the 3rd most snaps for Texas on defense. Did have a pass interference. I'm okay with that. 5 targets, 2 completions, 9 yards. Again, played a ton. And Arkansas, understandably, went after those 2 true freshman defensive backs a lot. Those guys stood their ground for the majority of the evening. Shout out to them. Honorable mentions, I thought Trevor Gooseby played a really, really good game at left tackle. Ryan Wingo didn't drop anything, so I guess he deserves one. Leonga Lafau, defensive touchdown. That was great. He doesn't get the award because he threw the football into Bevo's pen. I don't really know what he was thinking there. I guess no harm, no foul, but that was kind of a weird thing to do. But good performances by those guys as well. So there you go. Locked On Longhorns game balls from the 52-37 win. The majority of them obviously going to the offense. They put on a show led by their quarterback on Saturday night. All right, that'll do it for today's episode. If you made it this far, number 1, God bless you. Number 2, please remember to like, subscribe, share, leave a comment, all of those great things. If you do that, I don't get fired. So I really do appreciate y'all's continued support of Locked On Longhorns. For your next listen, how about Locked On SEC? Chris Gordy breaks down the best conference in college sports, from the rivalries to the upcoming conference championship and every game in between. You can find Locked On SEC on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Plenty more Texas A&M preview. We'll have some sound from Steve Sarkisian in tomorrow's show. Busy week. We are all over it here on Locked On Longhorns. But that'll do it for today. Thanks so much for tuning in. Until next time, horns up, mics off. We'll see y'all soon. This is Locked On Longhorns.